I hope you all are doing well. I wanted to make a quick video today to talk about a couple of things. One of them, of course, is in regards to twin flames. There's been so much activity around divine masculine energy over the last few days. And, as I have said, divine masculine to me is a specific arrangement of energy. It doesn't necessarily have to mean a person or an embodiment. It doesn't have anything to do, it does, but it doesn't have to have anything to do with the human itself. And so feeling these energies, I think a lot of us are normally naturally attuned to relate it to a person. And it can be really tricky navigating what's going on right now. I know for myself, I've had a big shift in not only my reality, but my belief system, my perception. This whole twin flame, and I'm sure this goes for almost everyone, it's been so confusing. And I used to think back in the old days, right? Really what I was questioning was, okay, if this is source light, why would source want me to suffer in this way? And then we get caught up on the fact that, we have this contract with another person, right? We have to do this. We have to come together because this is divine order. And if we don't, the universe is going to split apart and something horrible is going to happen, right? I definitely have a different perspective on that now. And what I really used to struggle with was trying to put all these parts and pieces together. My journey has taken me in so many different directions, so many different teachings, which I'm sure is true for everyone. And this whole process of ascension, it's like, what are we really doing here? And are we really here just to fight through all of these trials and tribulations and darkness until hopefully someday we arrive at some place where everything that we wanted shows up and everything is in alignment and the light is just shining and we're glowing and, this is it. It can be really, really confusing. And I know when I first started out, my realm was always, the very first class I took, my very first introduction into spirituality of any kind was through a channeling class that I had taken. And I had a really, really wonderful teacher. But I also struggled very much because my experience of channeling was that I was clearing, my body was just clearing. I was not channeling. I didn't feel like I should be speaking because I felt like the energy that was coming into me, I could not properly translate into human words. Like I never felt like I was doing that energy justice. And so there was a very almost, maybe heartbreak almost, or grief around not being able to convey that energy in its entirety. Like, how can I speak? It's only a portion of what I'm actually feeling and what I'm actually experiencing. So after that experience with this teacher, I was confused because there were a lot of people who were just speaking. And I felt like, well, maybe, they are, I don't know. I don't know what's true. Why am I struggling so much? And I thought, maybe I'm just faking it. Maybe they're faking it. I don't know what reality is. And so I kind of went on this very long journey through many different healers, many different teachers. Along the way, I was very interested in channeling though. And of course, one of the great channelers, Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, I'm sure this, which is what The Secret is based on, all this manifestation, and these kinds of things. And I was just, that information made so much sense to me. Again, though, it was one of those things where when I was listening, I could understand it. But when I was not listening to the recording, it was like those math problems. Like I could understand it when someone else was explaining it, but to implement it into my own life was incredibly difficult. And I couldn't get it. I just could not get it. And it's interesting because somehow something came up in my YouTube feed and I've been listening to it over and over and over again. There's so many, you could listen all day long and never run out of information because there's so much out there. But what I have found is now suddenly it all makes sense. Now I understand the missing pieces or the pieces that were missing for me. And when I would compare it to the twin flame journey, it's like I could never make the two work together. It made no sense to me. And so what I really want to say, about twin flames, it's like twin flame is not it's not a person. It's a presence of being. It is the presence of light through your being. And we can say we're twin flames. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. People who, I think to me that label doesn't even really matter anymore, because it's not about, it really isn't about coming together with another person. I think that is just a natural phenomenon that occurs because you are in alignment. And one of the things I have noticed is over the last several weeks, it's about, and it's so freeing to understand that what we create is what we attract, and what we attract is what we create. And it took me a long time to really understand this, and to understand this through the framework and through the lens of the twin flame dynamics. And I used to think like, God, I really want to let go of this person because it was so painful. But it was like this fear of, if I do that, am I going to mess up some universal cosmic plan, right? And so it was more of a feeling of, not necessarily even a contract, right? But that I had this obligation to something outside of me. Which again, when you think about alignment and you think about being in alignment with source, like it's all about within. It's all about what resonates with you. So why should there be some kind of outside contract or some kind of outside template that we have to be serving, And it just, again, I could not make these two halves of my brain like make sense of any of this stuff. So I feel so relieved now, because when I think about this whole journey, it truly has been, always has been, about where I am in alignment, noticing where I'm out of alignment, and noticing what that feels like, right? What feels right to me? What feels good for me? Now that I've come kind of back around full circle, right? Because I felt like I started with that information, and yet there was something that I couldn't understand and wrap my mind around. And so, like I said, it took me on this very long 4, 5, 6-year journey, perhaps, to understand that it really is about love, and that love is a vibration, and that it doesn't matter what's going on around you. If there is anything that's coming in to your awareness, into your energy field, into your life, that throws you off, you need to take a look at that, and it doesn't matter who they say they are, what they're showing up as. The only thing that you can go with is what is within your heart. And there are many different ways, this ascension journey, right? Like there's many different frameworks, there are many different ways to go about this, but it is really about what fits for us. We can make it as complicated or as easy as we want to. And sometimes we run the gamut. We end up doing both, right? In order to just come back to this simple understanding that it really is about love and joy and this vibration of being within that. And so in regards to twin flames, it's the same thing. If someone is showing up and it's making you crazy and making you uncomfortable, you don't have to go near that, And if you start to look, there's so many wonderful videos out there, right, about the psychology of relationships and obsessive thoughts and behaviors in regards to other people. And if you were to listen to that, to read that information, you will understand this is not something that is exclusive to twin flames. This is a normal human reaction and behavior to something that is not moving towards us, right? And so if I think back to everything Abraham Hicks says, it's like this resistance, right? Where is this resistance? What am I not seeing clearly or properly? It's all about being in alignment with your own vibration and your own energy. And, I think that a lot of times too, in this journey, I have felt that I have needed information from others. I've needed to seek out healers because I was so confused and I couldn't figure out why I felt so miserable. And, at the end of the day, we are source light. We are in alignment with source. It's just all of these layers and things that we're still holding on to that block us from remembering that and block us from actually feeling that within our embodiment. And yet, even though we know this is true, right? We are source. We are in alignment essentially all the time. It's just where is the human, right, knocking us out? Where are these patterns in our energy field, this kind of thing? And this is where we can use these, what we would call healers, right? Basically, what any individual does when we seek out help is to give us a different perspective, right? So that, because we're looking at it from this one way, and it's obviously keeping us stuck. And so this is what we do when we seek out healers, advice, therapy, whatever it might be, life coaching. Sometimes those perspectives come from a lower level. Sometimes they come from a higher level. Sometimes those perspectives will come almost in what I would see as a parallel level. And which to me is the scariest part, because it takes us out into some other framework. It's a different way of experiencing and a different way of understanding what is going on. And what happens when that occurs, it's like, it's a different reality suddenly, right? Because we can only, when we seek advice from other people, we're only getting from them what is within their own experience as well, right? So it's through a specific framework. It's through a certain experience. Yes, they may be aligned to source, and yes, they may be of the light and all these kinds of things, but yet, again, we are each living our own reality. I've always believed that we are the main character, right, in life. Everything that comes in is to assist us, to show us things, to help us learn, to help us grow. And it's not in a selfish way, right? Though, like, it's all about me. These people are here to whatever. No, in fact, it's quite the opposite. Sometimes all these people bring a lot of pain, right? Because we need to learn certain things for ourselves. And the reason, I used to wonder too, like, why are we suffering? Why is this like this? And really, this planet is all about being human and being in this embodiment and getting to experience the light through form, through matter, right? Which is the greatest, which is what we're always trying to do when we say we're trying to manifest something, right? It's like, we want to bring it into our physical reality. That's pretty much the goal. If you look around, it's like, well, how do I get it in my hand? And to me, it's not so much about those material things as much as, am I actually embodying this energy? Because it's one thing to know something, right? But it's a totally different thing to actually know it in yourselves, right? To like really know that you understand it and you have it. And that's what embodying is about. And the only way we really get to do that is through having these physical experiences, because we can read, we can listen to others talk, we can go to seminars, we can listen to lectures, right? We can understand it in our minds. But yet, if we're not, and to me, embodying starts through the heart space. It's not about the love necessarily and just being like, oh, I love everything. Yes, we're all one and all these kinds of things. No, it's about the mechanism or the driver through the actual body form that connects into the ethereal energy. So we can work it through our mind, but if we're not connecting in truly through our heart, we are not going to embody it into ourselves, into our skin. And this is really the goal of this whole process. It's the goal of being here on this planet. So, at any rate, I kind of got off track a little bit, but, what I think one of the other things too, that I've been so pulled out from my feelings and my emotions, and I naturally process energy through my body. Like when I am working with others as well, I feel it. It's as if I can feel it in my own body. It gives me clues to what's going on. And this is how I work. It's through the body, through the emotions, through the feeling of it. And I feel like I've been very much pulled away from that. And what I have found is I've been in the mind so much, trying to figure things out and trying to make sense of what is ascension? How do we get there? Like, am I at the right level? Like, what is here? Is there even such a structure framework that I have to work through? Or can I just be, because my experience in the beginning was always about the heart and about love. And it's not to say like, oh, love just conquers all in this very kind of, naive way. Like we can just ignore what's going on in the world. It's not about that either, but it is about connecting through the compassion and the love of the heart space. That's who we are as light beings, as source beings. And if we don't do that, eventually we're going to learn, because that's the way source is, right? No stone is left unturned. And we cannot hide from this light, which is so incredibly powerful. But what I have found is that for myself, it is just about sitting within this energy now, whether it's just my own field or allowing these wonderful, it's groupings of light, right? So it's beings, but it's like when we talk about the councils or we talk about these kind of conglomerations of energies, this is what's present here now to connect into. And I find that I can just connect into that. And I have questions, but it's like the energy will just flow up. It's like I know it before I even ask it. And it's like, oh, that was so silly to even think. Okay, yes, I know. Yes, and you just allow this energy to immerse into your body, into your being. And it's like, it really can be this easy. And yet it can be that difficult because, again, like I mentioned before, we do have patterns, tendencies, habits, programs that are within us that keep us from knowing fully that we are totally connected to source. And that's where our life lessons come in. And what I want to add about that as well, I had a very powerful experience where I think I've been asking for the last several years, why have I gone through so much trauma? Why have I gone through so much pain? And someone said to me, well, you would never create something that you didn't call in for yourself. And at first I thought, but it only took me a few seconds to realize if I look back, right, like at my marriage, at my life, I have been miserable probably up until the last year or 6 months or so, right? I think that consciously, of course, we try to project that life is good, right? Because you don't want to appear depressed. You don't want to appear sad. That doesn't go over well with people. They're like, well, you need to go. You need to figure, do you want to be on medication? Like, what's wrong with you? And so we of course, don't tend to put that out there. And yet underneath, many of us are suffering these quiet lives of desperation, right? So, if I'm honest and I look back at my situation, it was not a good situation to be in. There was so much that I did not understand about the way I grew up. Just these overwhelming weights and fogs of energy, of negativity that I always felt throughout all my life. And so if I'm honest about it, it's like I was questioning, what is this? I don't understand. Why is it like this? And so my life has been a journey of trying to figure that out, right? So I did, in fact, ask for that. I didn't just move on and say, well, you know what? I'm going to have a different attitude and this is what my life is going to be like. No, for me, it was important to understand why. It was important to understand the mechanics of the energies, of negative energies, of positive energies, of darkness, of light, whatever. It was just something that I decided I wanted to know. And so if I look back, it's like, yes, I got exactly what I asked for. It's just through the human, of course, we only see this flesh and blood experience, right? It's like, why does my life not look perfect like it does over there? Like there must be something wrong with me. And yet, I've gotten exactly what I've needed. And so now I've been able to it's been a miraculous few weeks now, of just, okay, wow, everything I had thoughts, feelings, and ideas about in the very beginning when I was first introduced to this channeling work is actually true. I had to go on some kind of crazy journey to actually prove to myself that I did know what I was thinking was true. And it's brought me back to this center, this space of gratitude, where it really doesn't matter who or what is showing up. It's like, I know what is right for me, and whatever the reality is showing me, it's not that we want to avoid reality and not look at reality, right? Like we're not going to be allowed to do that either. If there are things that we need to take care of, that's going to be shown to us. It's going to be, again, the light shines on everything. And all of that will be brought up. So it's not like we're going to be able to escape or forget about problems that we need to face, right? But it is about aligning to source light, aligning to the highest frequency that we can. And it's always about evolving. So if we find ourselves in a place with another, or even with another person that we're working with, right, and we don't feel like we are expanding, because by default, we are always evolving, right? Which means we're always expanding. So for me, what I have found lately is when I connect into the energies, it's like, do I feel this release? Do I feel lighter? Do I feel like I can expand like to eternity, right? And that is what is most important for me now. It's not, oh, does this make sense? Because it'll make sense, but then when you go off on your own life and you can't figure it out for yourself, it's like there's still something missing. There's a gap there in these frameworks. So yes, we can learn and grow through someone else's explanations, framework, their experiences, right? But in the end, it always comes back to us. And we're not going to be able to get away from that. And our lives will continue to feel all shook up until we start to understand that. So, so again, I think that really with this twin flame, it's like, do I go here? Do I go? We don't, first of all, if the path isn't clear, like don't move, you know, the light will just continue to get brighter. That's all that's going to happen. But if we start to take a step this way and, you know, we could, whatever, but again, we're all in our own journey. Like we can't compare, we can't say, oh, I fell off into darkness, like, because it isn't even true, right? It's because everything is of the light. And the darkness is only there to show us, to bring us back to the light. Always, always. That's always been my experience. No matter how dark the darkness, how deep the abyss, right? I have always come back up to the light, to higher and higher levels of light. And that is just, you know, there are universal laws to energy. And so no matter what framework or structure you're picking to understand energy through, there are universal laws that apply to all of these structures and frameworks. So in that, there is security or safety in the sense that you never have to worry that you are creating something that you did not call in for yourself. So I hope that makes sense. I know I kind of talk in a little bit roundabout ways sometimes, but really what I want to say more than anything is, you know, twin flame, don't let it define you. Don't let it define your life. Don't let it put this structure upon you that keeps you from moving towards your heart's desire, because it really truly is about the presence of the light through your being. And if anything, it's a gift because it is the deepest dive you will ever do here in the earthly realms anyway. So, okay, I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We will talk soon. Take good care.